Hello students, how are you all? I hope you all are doing great. I am Neha Rajvanshi and I welcome you all in today's class, that is English class of class 8th. So students, in the previous video we have started reading with our chapter number 10 from the book Honeydew. The name of the chapter is The Great Stone Face Part 2 and we will continue this chapter in today's video and we will complete a reading with this chapter. So now let's continue the chapter. As Ernst listened to the poet, he imagined that the great stone face was bending forward to listen to. So now finally, we have read this thing that the meeting was there, the poet and Ernst, they were having this conversation and both the person, they were very much impressed, very much attracted with each other. Okay, so now Ernst, when he was listening to the poet, so at that time he was having this kind of imagination that the great stone face was bending forward. Why? Just to listen all the interesting things, just to listen all the living images that were presented by the poet. Okay, so when they were talking, when they were having the conversation, so Ernst was having this kind of feelings that the great stone face is also equally interested in the poet's talks, in the images that the poet is presenting, and just to listen clearly, just to listen in a proper manner, the great stone face was bending forward. He gazed into the poet's eyes. So now finally Ernst, who was very much impressed with the poet, so now finally he gazed where? Into the eyes of the poet. Who are you, my gifted guest? He asked. And now finally Ernst, he was having this question. Now finally he asked that who are you, my gifted guest, my talented guest, my guest, with full of characteristics, with full of qualities. Who are you actually? The poet laid his finger on the book that Ernst had been reading. So we all know that he is the poet, and the book that Ernst he was reading, that book of poetry, that book of poems were written by this poet only, right? So now the poet, he just revealed his identity. He just told that who he was actually, and for that he laid his finger on the book that Ernst was reading, the book that Ernst he had been reading. You have read these poems, said he. You know me then, for I wrote them. So finally the poet, he revealed this thing and he said that you were reading these poems, you were reading this book, then definitely you know me, definitely you know about me. Why? Because I wrote them, because I am the person, I am the poet who wrote these poems. So finally the poet, he told that he is the poet of those poems. He is the person who wrote those poems that Ernst he was reading. Again and again, Ernst examined the poet's features. He turned towards the great stone face, then back. So now Ernst he is very much excited. Why? Because he was having this deep desire. He was having this, faith that this poet is the person who is mature enough, or we can say who is worthy enough, who is able enough to be the likeness of the great stone face. And finally, when he was sitting in front of that poet, now finally when he is having one meeting, one conversation with that person, so Ernst is very much excited and he is just hoping कि finally जो prophecy वो fulfill होने वाली है. So Ernst again and again he was examining the poet's feature. Why? Because he just wanted to have the resemblance in the face of the poet and the great stone face. So for that he was examining the poet's face again and again, and then he was turning towards the great stone face because he just wanted to figure out some likeness, some resemblance. Okay, so now because it was his deep faith that this poet is the person who will be the man of prophecy, because he is worthy enough, because he is, we can say, able enough. So now finally when he came to know that he is the poet, his guest is the poet himself, so now he was examining his face and then he was comparing, he was trying to compare his face with the great stone face. He shook his head and sighed. So again and again he was trying to figure out some resemblance, some likeness, but one more time when he was unable to have any likeness, then he just shook his head, and then one more time he sighed. Why? Because Ernst again he is very much disappointed, he is very much sad. Why? Because earlier he was unable to find any resemblance in Gathergold, then again he was unable to find any likeness in Blood and Thunder, but now this time Ernst was very much sure, he was having this kind of hope that this poet will be the man of prophecy. But when this time also Ernst he was unable to have any likeness, any resemblance, then again Ernst is very much disappointed, he is very much sad. Why are you sad? Inquired the poet. So the poet, he is actually clueless, he is having no idea that what is going on in the mind of Ernst. He was having no idea that why Ernst is suddenly so sad, suddenly so disappointed. So finally the poet, he asked this question, that why are you sad? Because, replied Ernst, all through life I have awaited the fulfillment of a prophecy, and when I read these poems I hoped that it might be fulfilled in you. So Ernst, who is very humble, who is very honest, so now Ernst, he is replying in a very honest manner that why he is sad. So he is replying and he is saying that I am sad because all through my life I have been awaited the fulfillment of a prophecy. So now he is replying that पूरे लाइफ I was just waiting for the time कि ये जो prophecy है ये कब fulfill होगी. And next he added that when I read these poems, so I hoped that it might be fulfilled in you. So now he is telling the reason that why he said. So he is explaining very clearly that throughout his life he was just waiting for the time, he was just waiting for the fulfillment of the prophecy, and when he read these poems, so he was having this hope that this prophecy will be fulfilled in this poet only, and this poet is the person who is worthy enough, who is able enough to be the man of prophecy. You hoped, answered the poet, faintly smiling, to find in me the likeness of the great stone face. I am not worthy to be its likeness. So now the poet, who is also very much aware about the great stone face, about the prophecy, about the story related with that, so now the poet is answering, and this time he was smiling very faintly, he was smiling in a very weak manner, and he answered that okay, you hoped actually to find in me the likeness of the great stone face, but how can you hope so? Because I am not worthy, I am not able to be its likeness, I am not able to be the man of prophecy. How can you hope this thing that I will be your man, I will be the man of prophecy? Because I know I am not worthy enough, I am not able enough to be the man of prophecy, I am not able enough to be the likeness of the great stone face. And why not? Asked Ernst. He pointed to the book. So Ernst, he is still having the faith in the poet, and he is asking that why not? Why are you saying so that you are not worthy? You are actually worthy enough, you are actually able enough. And Ernst, he just pointed to the book. So he just wanted to say that you are a very good poet, and you are writing such good poetry, you are writing such good poems. So how can you say that you are not worthy enough? Actually you are worthy enough, actually you are lucky enough, or we can say you are able enough. Are not those thoughts worthy? You can hear in them the distant voice of a heavenly song, but my life, dear Ernst, has not correspondent with my thoughts. So Ernst, he asked this question that are not those thoughts worthy? All the thoughts, all the ideas that you presented in your poems, that you presented in your poetry, so are those thoughts not worthy? So how can you say that you are not worthy enough? Because all the thoughts, all the images that you present in your poetry, in your poems, all those thoughts are very worthy, right? So actually you are worthy enough. So now he is asking the question कि जो thoughts, जो images, जो ideas तुम अपनी poetry में present करते हो, क्या वो ideas according to you worthy नहीं है? So now the poet, he is replying and he is saying that you can hear in them the distant voice of a heavenly song. So he is saying that all the poems that I actually wrote, so in all those poems you can hear the distant voice of a heavenly song. But my life, dear Ernst, that has not correspondent with my thoughts. So what it means correspond? Correspond means to match with something, to match with the habit of someone. Okay, so he is saying that yes, all the thoughts, or we can say all the ideas, all the images that I present in my poems, so yes, they are very beautiful, they are very worthy. And you know, when you read my poems, so you can have this kind of imagination, you can have this kind of feeling that you are listening a heavenly song, you are listening a very beautiful poetry. But my life is having no connection, my life is having no match with my poetry. Okay, so here the poet is trying to say this thing, that yes, his poetry is actually worthy, his poems are actually worthy, but whatever he is writing in his poems, so those are only his ideas, those are only his thoughts, and his life is having no connection with those thoughts, with those images. Okay, so he is saying that yes, my poetry is worthy enough, but my life is not worthy, I am not worthy. Okay, I have had grand dreams, but they have been only dreams. So now he is trying to explain that why his life is not corresponded, with that worthy poems, and why he is not worthy enough. So he is saying that, every time he was having very grand dreams, so very big, very huge dreams, but everything he wanted in his life, they just remained to be dreams only. He was not able to, achieve all his dreams. Sometimes I lack faith in my own thoughts, and what may be the reason that why he was not able to complete all his dreams. So he's saying that sometimes he was having a lack of faith, sometimes he was lacking faith, okay, in his own thoughts. Why then, pure seeker of the good and true, should you hope to find me in the face of the mountains? So now the poet is presenting the reason, he is actually explaining the reason that why he is not worthy enough. So he is saying that his thoughts are very worthy, his thoughts, his poetry is very good, right? And any reader can find heavenly song, heavenly pleasure in his poetry, but his life is not like that. His life is having no connection with his poetry, and he himself lacks the faith in his thoughts, and this is the reason he is saying that he is not at all worthy enough to be the likeness of the great stone face. And he is asking this question that why you, and now he is referring Ernst as a pure seeker of the good and true, and he is saying that how can you hope, how can you imagine that I will be the likeness of a great stone face. The poet spoke sadly, and his eyes were wet with tears, and this time the poet, he was speaking in a very sad manner, and at the same time his eyes were filled with tears, his eyes were wet because of tears. So too were those of Ernst. So yes, the poet was very sad, his eyes were wet, there were tears in his eyes, and similarly Ernst was also very sad, he was also crying, he was also having wet eyes. At the hour of sunset, as had long been his custom, Ernst was to speak to a group of neighbors in the open air. So now finally it was evening time, now finally sun was setting, so it was sunset time, and it was Ernst's custom, it was Ernst's habit, it was the daily routine of Ernst, what? To speak to a group of neighbors in the open air. Okay, so daily at this time, daily at the time of sunset, Ernst, he used to speak, he used to address a group of people. Okay, so this was his custom, this was his daily work, this was his daily routine. Together he and the poet went to the meeting place arm in arm. So yes, it was the daily routine, and this day also Ernst, he just wanted to continue his daily routine. So when the time of this meeting was there, when sunset was there, so Ernst, now he was going there because he had to address a group of people, and now because he was having one guest, as the poet was there, so together he and the poet, they went to the meeting place, they went to the place where Ernst, he was to address a group of people, and they were going arm in arm, they were going holding each other's arm. From there could be seen the great stone face, and from that meeting place, from there also the great stone face, it was visible. Everyone were able to see great stone face from that meeting place. Ernst threw a look of familiar kindness around upon his audience. So finally Ernst, he reached to that meeting place. So now first of all he threw a look of familiar kindness around upon his audience. Okay, so all the audience, or we can say all the people who were there, why? Just to listen the wise thoughts of Ernst. So first of all Ernst saw, and he was having a familiar look of kindness on his face. He began to speak to the people what was in his heart and mind, and finally Ernst, he started his speech. He started to pour out his wise thoughts. Okay, and he was speaking to the people, and he was telling that what was there in his mind, in his heart. His words had power because they agreed with his thoughts, and his thoughts had reality and depth because they harmonized with the life which he had always lived. So now when Ernst, when he was speaking there, when he was addressing a group of people, so at that time his words, whatever he was saying, whatever he was speaking, whatever words he was saying, so each and every word was very powerful. Each and every word had some power. And why his words were so powerful, or we can say how his words were so impressive, because all his words agreed with his thoughts. Okay, so he was speaking that what was there in his mind, in his heart. So whatever he was saying, he was actually having the same thoughts in his mind, and his thoughts actually were real and depth. Okay, and why so? Because they actually harmonized with the life which he had always lived. So first of all, let's say the meaning. Harmonized means we can say agreed with, or we can say to have a connection with. So what it means? So here we can find one difference. Okay, one comparison is presented there between the life of poet and the life of Ernst. So earlier we have read this thing, that why according to the poet he was not worthy to be the likeness of the great stone face. Why? Because he was saying that his thoughts are worthy, his poems are worthy, but his own life is not connected with his poems, right? That we have read, that we have discussed. And now here we are having these details about Ernst's life, and here the writer is writing, and he is actually presenting one comparison, and he is saying that Ernst's words were very powerful because there was one synchronization, because there was one connection. Whatever he was saying, that was present in his mind, right? उसके thoughts वही थे जो कि वो बोल रहा था, and his thoughts were very real, very deep. Why? Because उसके जो thoughts थे वो उसकी life का ही part थे. Okay, so ऐसा नहीं है कि वो अपनी life में वो नहीं है जो कि वो बोल रहा था. So there was one perfect synchronization between his thoughts, between his words, and between his life. And yes, this was the difference, and the life of poet was not having this synchronization, this connection with his poems. Okay, his poems were worthy, but his own life was not worthy. And here we can see the life of Ernst. So whatever he was saying, whatever words he was using, those words were representing his thoughts, and his thoughts representing his life. So yes, his life, his thoughts, his heart, his mind, and his word, everything was in a perfect synchronization, everything was in a perfect harmony, everything was in a perfect connection. Clear? It was not mere breath that had preacher uttered. They were the words of life. So here whatever Ernst was saying, whatever he was speaking, so all the words, they were not mere breath that the preacher uttered. So breath means we can say noble or wise words, and preacher means a wise person. Okay, so वो जो बोल रहा था वो सारी बातें केवल एक preacher जैसे बोलता है ना, wise words. तो सिर्फ वो wise words नहीं थे, वो सिर्फ स्पीच नहीं थी, वो सिर्फ विजडम से भरे हुए वर्ड्स नहीं थे, बट दे वर एक्चुअली द वर्ड्स ऑफ लाइफ. ओके, सो उसका जो खुद का लाइफली एक्सपीरियंस था, सो हिज वर्ड्स, हिज स्पीच वर बेस्ड ऑन हिज ओन लाइफ, दे वर बेस्ड ऑन हिज own experience. A life of good deeds and selfless love was melted into them, and we all know that the life of Ernst, it had been a life of good deeds and it had been a life of selfless love. Okay, so throughout his life, Ernst, he was the person that was full of love, full of affection. He was very humble, he was very kind, he was very gentle. So whatever he was saying there, it was it was related with his own life, and yes, his life was always with full of good deeds and always full of with selfless love. The poet, as he listened, felt that the life and character of Ernst were a nobler strain of poetry than he had ever written. So now the poet was also there, the poet was also listening, he was also there as a audience. Okay, so now when he was listening the words of Ernst, now when he was listening the speech of Ernst, we can say, so at that time the poet was having this kind of feeling that the life and the character of Ernst, it were a nobler strain. Strain means we can say pressure, or here it means essence. Okay, so now the poet was having this kind of realization that the life of Ernst, or we can say the character of Ernst, it was having a nobler strain, nobler essence of poetry than he had ever written. It means the poet, he realized कि उसके जो poems हैं वो भी कभी इतनी noble नहीं हो पाई जितना कि अर्न्स्ट की खुद की life है, जितना कि अर्न्स्ट का character है. So the poet, now he was having this kind of realization. His eyes filled with tears, and he said to himself that never was there so worthy a sage as that mild, sweet, thoughtful face with the glory of white hair diffused about it. So with this realization that the life, the character of Ernst, they were nobler than his own poems, finally the eyes of this poet, they were filled with tears. Why? And he said to himself this thing, that never was there so worthy a sage. Sage means any wise person. So finally he accepted this thing that Ernst, he was like one wise person, a person who is very mild, very sweet, very who is having a very thoughtful face, and at the same time he is having the glory of white hair that diffused about it. So yes, we have read earlier that now Ernst, he was in his old age, and because of that he was having so many white hairs, and diffused means something that spread all around. Okay, so now finally this poet, he was having this realization that yes, the life and the character of Ernst, it is something very great, it is something very rare, and it is difficult to find a wise man similar to Ernst, who is very mild, sweet, who is having a very thoughtful face, and at the same time who is having the glory of white hair that diffused, that spread all around. At a distance, but clearly to be seen, high up in the golden light of the setting sun, appeared the great stone face with white mist around it, like the white hairs around the brow of Ernst. So now we have discussed, we have read this thing, that from that meeting place, the great stone face was also visible. So now at a distance, but still it was very clear. Okay, so yes, at a distance, but clearly to be seen, high up in the golden light of the setting sun. So we have read that it was sunset time, so the sun was setting, and because of that in the sky there was the golden color light was there, and in that light appeared the great stone face. Okay, so yes, the great stone face was very far, but but still it was very clear, and in the sky there was the golden light, and in that light appeared the great stone face, and at that time it was having white mist around. So white mist means, in this picture we all can see this kind of clouds that are full of water. So such kind of mist was there all around to the great stone face, and at that time the great stone face was looking just like the white hairs around the brow of Ernst. So Ernst, who is in his old age, who is having white hairs on his forehead, and at the same time who is having white hair in his eyebrows also. Okay, so now the Ernst was also having white hair, and the great stone face was also covered with the mist of white clouds that we can see in this picture. Okay. At that moment, Ernst's face took on an expression so grand that the poet was moved to throw his arms up and shout, "Behold, behold!" So now Ernst, he is still speaking, he is still delivering his wise thoughts. Okay, so at that time, Ernst's face, it took on an expression, and this expression was so grand that the poet, he was moved, he was touched, he was impressed so deeply that finally he threw his arms up and he shouted, what? Behold, behold. Behold means look, look. Okay, so now Ernst, he was speaking, and the poet, he was able to see the face of Ernst, and at the same time he was able to see the great stone face. Okay, so when Ernst, he was speaking, he was having, you know, some glory on his face, he was having very grand expressions on his face. So when the poet, when he observed those expressions, so the poet was very much moved, he was very much touched, and he shouted, look, look. Ernst is himself the likeness of the great stone face. And finally the poet, he was having this announcement, and he declared this thing that look, look, Ernst is the person who is having the likeness of the great stone face. Ernst is the man of prophecy. Ernst himself is that person. Then all the people looked and saw that what the poet said was true. Then all the people who were there as audience, they also observed the similarity, and for that also, you know, they were trying to figure out the comparison. So they were looking first of all the features of Ernst, and when they were doing the comparison, you know, when they were looking the great stone face, so yes, they also find the similarity, they also find the likeness, so we can say they also find the resemblance. And yes, they also agreed that what the poet was saying, it was absolutely right. Yes, Ernst was the man of prophecy, Ernst was their man, and yes, he was having the likeness with the great stone face. The prophecy was fulfilled, and finally, yes, the prophecy, it was fulfilled, because yes, Ernst, he was the noblest person, the wisest person of his time, right? And yes, he was having the likeness with the great stone face. So finally the story that is related with the prophecy, finally the prophecy, it fulfilled. But Ernst, having finished what he had to say, took the poet's arm and walked slowly homeward. So now let's see what is the reaction of Ernst, what is his response. Ernst, who throughout his life he was waiting eagerly for this prophecy to be fulfilled, who eagerly waiting for this man of prophecy. So now when all the people, they agree that he himself is the man of prophecy, let's see what is his response. So Ernst, having finished what he had to say, so first of all, he finished his speech, he finished, you know, all the wise thoughts that he wanted to convey. Then he took the poet's arm, and then he walked slowly homeward. So yes, Ernst, he did not give any reaction, he did not say anything, but he just started to walking back home, still hoping that some wiser and better man than himself would by and by appear, bearing a resemblance to the great stone face. And still Ernst, he is having this hope, still Ernst, he is hoping that someday there will be one man who will be wiser and better than himself, and that man will appear there, and he will bear a resemblance, he will having the likeness to the great stone face. So here we can see that how humble, how polite, how kind Ernst is, right? And he is not ready to accept this thing that he is the man of prophecy. He is not ready to accept that he is the person who is having the likeness. He is not accepting that he is worthy enough, okay? And still he is hoping that some or other day there will be the person who will be wiser, who will be better than himself, and he will have the resemblance, he will have the likeness with the great stone face, okay? But yes, now everyone knew this thing that he himself is the person, Ernst himself is the man of prophecy. But Ernst, he is so humble, he is so kind, he is so down to earth that he is not ready to accept this truth. Okay, so students, the chapter ends here. It's a very interesting story and I really enjoyed this story, and I very much sure that you also enjoy reading this chapter along with me. And in the next video we will see the comprehension part, we will solve the questions. See you in the next video. Thank you.